Hi, I'm Danny Ramos, and welcome to this week's edition of Hispanic Speak Out TV, brought to you on Bright House Cable every Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. We're on the I-4 corridor, and this show is in English because a large portion of our community speaks and is bilingual, and because we want people who are not Hispanic to learn about the Hispanic community. And that's one of the things that this show is all about. And today, this show is about immigration, about one of the core issues in the upcoming presidential elections. We'll be talking about the situation that people face who are undocumented in this country. With me today is an attorney, Camila Pachon.
That's right.
Got it right?
You got it
right. And Sister Ann Hendricks. Camila is a leader in the immigration legal community, and Sister Ann is an extremely well-known person nationally who defends the rights of Hispanics and others too, who have immigration issues. Welcome to Hispanic Speak Out.
Thank you
to be
for
here.
having us.
Okay. Sister Ann, you just came back from Washington.
Right.
What was the flavor of what was going on in Washington?
I think that the community of people who are working around immigrant rights are amazing. They're resilient and full of faith and full of energy and full of belief that if we keep working at this, we will get comprehensive immigration reform, which our country so desperately needs. So there was a lot of good animo among the students who are DREAM activists, among people from California to New York who are working to ameliorate the anti-immigrant hateful rhetoric that's around this issue, and committed to keep working for comprehensive immigration reform, for immigrant rights, for the inclusion and integration of immigrants into our community, and for the regulation of the status of undocumented people who've been in this country for a long time and for whom there is no legal channel for them currently to regularize their status. And they're good citizens. They're people who have impeccable records. They're people who do the work of our community, and their children have been here, and they're as American as anybody. So
why has this been such a hot potato, president after president after president, that the Congress of the United States, which is not doing a particularly great job, but we've had multiple Congresses that cannot seem to handle this particular concept and make it work? Why?
Because I think there's a lot of myths and false information around about immigrants. I think the ugly head of racism is picking up its head, around this issue. I think if the immigrant community was different than what it is, the newer immigrant community was from other countries, it would not be the same. We wouldn't be having the same conversation. And
so you're saying that it's more because of people of color, or you're saying
I think
that
because a lot of
immigrants from Northern Europe would not have the same response?
Clearly, immigrants. I have Irish friends who've been counseled to separate themselves from the immigrant movement because maybe they could cut a better deal for themselves if they were independent of what seems to be a Hispanic definition and face, which is actually not true. Mm-hmm. The immigrant community is multifaceted. There are a lot of people caught up in this dilemma, and 99% of the crowd are hardworking, low-wage workers who do the grunt work in our community, and they're noble people, they're humble people, they're people whose values, family values, faith values, it's what we preach in this country. They're great people, and they should be allowed to stay here. We need them. We want them. They're the kind of people that should be integrated into our community. Every day at our center, at the Hope Center in Apopka, I show up in the morning, and their families who Papa went out to work in the morning, never showed up again. They don't know where he is, what happened to him. The suspicion is he was detained by immigration. Mama went out to Winn-Dixie to get food and never came back again. What are we doing? Arresting and jailing people like that and putting them into some pretty despicable conditions and harassing and treating them like they were terrorists and high-level felons. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm ashamed of our way of dealing with it. And I think if we wouldn't just get caught up in all the polemic and polarization, we could find a common solution.
Well, where's the polarization coming from? Is it a question of that politicians are cowards and they're afraid they're not going to get reelected? What do you think, Camila?
I think that's part of it. Like Sister Ann said, there's also a lot of myths there, and with the current economic crisis, people are looking to blame somebody for the problems
Right.
of this country. And who to blame? Undocumented immigrants. So it's a combination of myths, of politics, and people who just don't know about the subject, but they want to talk about it. A lot of people want to have an opinion, but they don't want to have to do the work to have a real opinion, a valid opinion.
There are situations that cross the newspapers every now and then. It's common talk that their immigrants are being taken advantage of financially when they're going through this process of trying to find a way to stay. Can you give me a little bit more on that?
Yes. What happens is that in most South American countries, notarios are usually attorneys. To be able to be a notario in South America, you have to go through this long, complicated process. So these people in South America are people who are trusted by the communities. Now, here in the States, notarios are just people who just pay the fee to become a notario. It's a pretty simple
You're talking
process.
about notary public.
Exactly. So now people in this country, immigrants, see the word notario and they immediately associate that with an attorney. And then they go to that person for legal advice regarding their immigration status. And sometimes these people charge less than an attorney. Some other times they don't. They just charge just as much. And they give advice in laws that they have no idea what they're talking about, and the immigrants rely on them, and then they end up in deportation proceedings or just really not having a good outcome that they could have had if they have a real attorney look at their case.
Okay. Are all attorneys the same in this?
There's, of course, like in any other profession, there's good and bad attorneys. Unfortunately, immigration has been one of the areas in which immigration attorneys, they don't have the best reputation. It's an area that is growing in the law, so there's a lot of people that, as part of their several other areas that they do, they also just do immigration. But what people need to look at is, if they want to go to an immigration attorney, they need to know that it's a person who has experience in the topic, who is specialized in the topic, and go to several attorneys, see what they say.
And when a person goes to an attorney, do they come straight in and say they're undocumented for the most part through your experience, or they kind of, test you out to see, or is it a referral process?
Well, in the community, what happens is most of the clients that come in is through referrals. There's a big trust issue, so they hear about somebody who has an attorney and who they like, so that person refers the client to the attorney. Of course, between the client and the attorney, there's confidentiality. Whatever you tell to the attorney is confidential, and unless you approve, the attorney cannot tell anybody else what you told them during the consultation, whether you're undocumented or not.
The Obama administration has announced a different policy regarding immigrants. Can you give us a little light on that?
Yeah, well, just recently, the Obama administration announced this new policy in which people who are currently in deportation proceedings and who do not have a criminal record are going to be given the lowest priority in terms of being deported. This was just a policy that was announced. There is no law. They have now new pilot programs that are being implemented in Denver and Baltimore, but there are just pilot programs to see how things are going to work out and whether they can implement that in other areas.
But that's up to the local law enforcement, isn't it? They determine, local law enforcement really, because in Arizona, if you go, in Arizona, it's a whole different ballgame over there.
Well, that's the problem right now.
Regardless of what the administration says.
Well, that's the problem. Like, immigration, it's federal law. The states should not be enforcing federal law. And that's why the Supreme Court has decided that they're going to determine whether it's unconstitutional.
The policy hasn't hit the ground yet. I mean, the officials in the on the ground who are doing the work have not yet been trained in the new in the new regulation, the new policy. Hopefully, when that happens, which should be in these days, that both the Border Patrol, the ICE officials, as well as the judges in the process of processing people who are detained, will weed out the criminals and prosecute them to the full extent of the law. But people who have been here for 10 or 15 years, 20 years, sometimes 25 years, who do not have a criminal record, to suspend the proceedings until this all shakes down.
But they are taken in the process, though, aren't they?
but it
detained.
doesn't regularize their status. But hopefully they will not be detained. That they'll be released on their own recognizance and in be sort of a holding position until some of this all sorts out.
The basis for the regulations is for people who are currently in deportation proceedings. A lot of those people are not in detention. Some of them are, but they're in what is called deportation proceedings, where they have to go to court and then the judge determines the outcome of their case. It's called the prosecutorial discretion, where you have to show several factors: that you're a person of good moral character, that you have no criminal record, the length of time that you have been in the country, the ties that you have to the community. And then in some cases, then your case will be closed, administratively closed, and there has been mention about the possibility of the person getting a work permit, but that is just an announcement. There's nothing set in stone as of right
What
now.
about, let's talk about, we live here. We live in Central Florida, in the 5 counties of Central Florida, okay? What is the attitude of the system in, we know what the attitude is in the Southwest with the border states. What is the attitude here in Central Florida regarding undocumented people?
I think
from law enforcement point of view,
pretty
OPD,
negative.
Orlando Police Department, Sheriff's Department.
The local police enforcement, there is already through Homeland Security. We don't even need an Arizona or an Alabama law. Secure Communities authorizes local law enforcement to work in concert with ICE or independently of ICE to implement immigration stuff. So a local police officer can investigate the immigration status of anybody they choose.
But what is their attitude?
Their
I'm talking about it's one thing to say we have the right to do it, but are they lenient or are they aggressive?
No, I'd say they're aggressive. In our community, every day there are raids. In the morning by 8 o'clock.
What community is that? You're talking about
Apopka, Central Florida, Lake County, West Orange County. All over.
Every day there are raids.
Every day there are raids. We hear people come to our office. And I said that the law enforcement arrived at 5 o'clock, terrorized everybody, came in the house. People don't know their rights. They don't know that without a court or an order signed by a judge looking for a specific person, law enforcement does not have a right to just barge in your house. People don't know that they have a right to remain silent. They have a right.
A person. How does a person stop that? Some guy knocks on the door.
You're terrified.
You're not going to go up. What are you going to do? Then he's going to say you assaulted me.
Well, that's the power of education. If people know that no, you don't have to open the door. If they knock on the door, you can ask for a warrant. Ask for them to give you the papers underneath the door.
Right.
You don't. But that's the power of education. Since people don't know, and an officer shows up at their door, the person that they.
Now let me.
Actually, we're looking, for people listening in the audience who want to serve their own community, especially if they're bilingual. We're looking for lay people in the community who are willing to be trained in the fundamentals of immigrant rights.
And
it's not that complicated.
What are those people going to do for you?
They're going to be able to be a source of actual, true information, not rumor and terror, and they're going to talk about appropriate legal advice, how to, vet an attorney, how to get good legal counsel, how to exercise your rights. You're not automatically given a phone call. You have to ask for a phone call. You have to have the numbers in your head, because with cell phones now, people don't remember numbers, and they're not going to have a telephone with them. So it's know your rights. It's safety planning. How to take care of your family in case you are detained. Who has authorization, to exercise control over your children? Do you have passports for your kids? Do you have the school records? Do you have the medical records? In case you have to leave in a hurry, in case your case doesn't work out the way you'd like it to work out, that your family have at least some sense of security. And for you to know if you're detained, or if you're stopped on the road, or that you have a right to remain silent, you have a right to legal, to secure legal advice. People don't know that. They're terrified by law enforcement, and they don't know what to do.
Is there any kind of let's say you get stopped at 2 o'clock in the morning or midnight? Who do you call? Is there any 24-hour hotline that covers this?
No, but we got telephone numbers, and we want to get some people in the local community who have the information, have it accurate, and are documented, and are able to act as agents of support and advice. And so we want to train people. So if there are people who are listening who want to be trained in basic know your rights and basic safety planning, they can call us at the Hope Center, 407-880-4673, and we'll give them the training.
Okay, great. An email blast.
Great.
What is the in other words, you're going to train this person to do what?
to go to communities, to churches,
All right, to visit people and get the message
and
out.
say, these are your rights. This is
Okay.
how you exercise them. This
Okay.
is what you say. If you're stopped while you're driving, if you're stopped walking, if ICE comes to your workplace, if they come to your house, what Camilla said, that you have
That's the next question.
teach your children not to open the door until you know who's out there.
If you open the door, do they have the right to come in? I heard you say you don't have to open the door.
Right.
If you open the door, they assume that's permission to come in.
That's an assumption.
It's an assumption.
Right.
All right.
And they act on it. They come in and they'll say, well, La
You open the
Señora,
door.
open the door
door.
for me.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Well, you just need to educate people out there, know your rights, know about notarios, know that you have rights out there, that if you think that you have a case, go consult an attorney. There's nonprofit organizations, there's private attorneys that give free consultations. Some of them are willing to do pro bono cases. So
Okay.
you need to understand that at this point, things are only going to get worse, and you need to be ready. You need to be prepared.
Do you believe
We have an
things are gonna get worse?
immigration attorney at our office too. Yeah, every day it gets worse. I've been working in this community for 40 years, and I've never seen the level of fear
Now,
and terror.
We're in the Obama administration. They're supposed to be soft on
Yeah.
this. What's going on?
They're not soft on
Failed
it.
promises.
They're deporting more people than the George Bush administration did.
The Obama administration has deported 1.1 million immigrants, more than anyone in the last 6 decades.
Okay.
And it's not narco-traficantes and drug dealers and and people traffickers. They're deporting rank and file people that have been
Mom
here
and
for 20 years,
dads.
mom and dads, people who have U.S. citizen children. Apparently, in some places in Mexico, the huge problem they have are Mexican English-speaking kids who don't know Spanish anymore, who are being
Yeah, they're going
reintegrated
into a
into their
foreign
community.
culture.
Right. And they're separating families. We have a lot of U.S. citizen kids are being left with extended family and because their parents are deported.
It's a political thing, and I think I think the political system, the elected officials, are being cowards to address the issue because they're afraid of re-election.
And we're not even dealing with truth when we talk about this. It's like a polarized, heated, emotional debate.
Let's do a conference. You want to do a conference in the hotel?
Sure.
Yeah,
You're gonna be there?
I'm in. I'll be there.
You're going to be in?
Anything
Okay.
that helps the
How
cause
about
and
let's- in
helps us
March?
create some
Is
common
March a good
ground.
month for the concept?
Perfect.
Depends.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll do it. It depends
All
on what.
Well,
You're giving me the okay. I'm going to
yeah,
do
sure,
it.
sure,
We're going to do
sure.
a conference in March on immigration
Okay.
in Orlando. You're in? You're in?
I'm in.
Okay, we're going to do this. Listen, we're going to take a fade in and fade out because what we're going to have here is some young people who are actually undocumented in this country. Hi, I'm Danny Ramos, and welcome back to Hispanic Speak Out TV. We're doing a show on immigration tonight, and we've had Sister Ann here. She just came back from Washington at a conference on immigration, and she came to the studio tonight with 3 young people, and all 3 are undocumented. They're living here in the United States in fear. I'm here with Camila Pichon, and she's an attorney, an immigration attorney, who has been on the show before. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Okay, we want to know your story. What's your name?
Evelyn.
Evelyn. Only first name.
Ellie.
Ellie?
Danny.
Danny. Tell me about you. What is your life like? What do you feel? Tell me about that.
So I'm originally from Medellin, Colombia. I came when I was 3 years old, and I've been living here for 20 years. I also have 2 other sisters. They're both U.S. citizens, and then my dad, he's a resident now.
Were your sisters born here?
Yes, they were
Okay,
both.
but
born
you
here.
weren't?
No, I was not. Yes.
Okay, so how does that affect your life?
It's a little bit more difficult. I can't drive, so my younger sister drives me around. I can go to school, but it's a bit more expensive. You know, sometimes it is scary, like who to trust, who you can tell your story to, who you can be free and be open with and tell them that you're undocumented. But at the same time, I found that there's freedom and there's peace in sharing my story and letting people know in the situation I'm in, and so that gives me strength to go on. And
But you can literally be deported.
yes, I could.
Okay, have you ever been threatened with that, or are you still under the radar?
I'm not exactly under the radar because I have had petitions filed for me, so immigration knows that I'm here undocumented, so I'm already in the system. I guess in the legal way of being in the system I'm here, but still, even then, like I still have the risk of being deported.
Tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm originally from Mexico.
Okay.
I have been living here for 10 years, going to my 11
And
years.
how
right
old
now.
are you?
I am 22.
Okay. So you got here when you were 11, 12 years old?
Yes.
Okay.
And I've been living in fear every day, but getting out there, because I'm thinking that this is, God chose me to be at the same time undocumented, to learn more and to struggle more for freedom. And also because the fear comes back to me, and it encouraged me to keep going and to act on my rights, because I have studied here, I have grown in here, and my brothers have too, and so it's been a tough life, but it's a learning experience too.
Are other family members undocumented?
2 of my family members are, and my parents are, but I have one little sister and a little brother who aren't.
Okay. And you're going to school, right? You're in school?
I'm going to school right now.
Okay.
We paying international tuition, and it's 4 times the amount of a regular in-state tuition, and it's hard. It's hard getting scholarships. It's hard, like trying to get the money for me to go to school. But I feel happy when I'm in school. I feel that I'm doing something, for myself.
Do you have fear? Do you have fear inside of you? Do you live with fear, or are you more at peace with yourself?
I am kind of both. I fear every time, if my dad is driving to his work, or if I'm driving with somebody who's undocumented, I always have to put the mirrors off, because I fear that they're gonna see me and they're gonna maybe stop me because of the color of my skin, and that's what I fear the most. And I also, when I'm outside of my environment, I just feel like I'm an activist member who will fight for the rights for mine and for other students who are here undocumented.
Okay. And your story, tell us a little bit about your story.
I'm also originally Mexican. I came to the United States when I was 7 years old. Basically all my life I've been here working hard, trying to get my education, which is very important to me. And it's been in one of my values in my family to pursue your education. And yes, like my friends say, I live in fear. The fact that I want to go to college, I want to make something out of myself. Right now I'm doing high school in tech, career tech center, and I'm learning a career, where I want to major in. And just the fact that to know that I'm undocumented and I can't go on like a regular American student is hard.
How did you get here? How did you get to Central Florida?
Well, I have family here, so
Okay.
they are U.S. citizens.
Okay. And how did you come? Your parents brought you?
Yeah, my parents brought me.
And did they go to the Southwest first and then migrated into the Florida area? Do you know?
They
or?
just brought me here, and I don't know. It's a blurry memory.
Do you have any legal representation? No? So you've never gone to a lawyer and say, help me?
For me, just a lawyer at the center, just to ask questions further about my case. What's the time limit? Like, how long am I going to have to wait? What's the process? But that was it.
From what I know, my knowledge that I know is that if I can put my application, but maybe I will be deported. There's a chance that I could get deported.
What are you studying in school?
I'm going for psychology.
Okay.
I love psychology. Since
Okay.
I was
And what are you
little.
studying?
I want to major in multimedia design.
Okay. And what was your major?
I want to be an immigration lawyer.
Hey, she'll hire you. Do you have any questions you want to ask them? Or?
What are your plans for the future? Knowing your limitations, do you have plans for the future right now?
Definitely. Like I said, and like how Ellie said, it's kind of like a blessing in disguise being undocumented. I don't feel like I need to stop living my life. I feel like I need to continue. Like, this is my country. Like, I shouldn't put like roadblocks on myself. So I'm going to continue my education. I'm going to continue working hard and giving back to this country as much as I can. And next year, actually, like the youth in Florida, we're going to start an in-state tuition campaign so that undocumented students can pay in-state tuition prices.
What would you say to people who oppose the DREAM Act? Just in general terms, for those who don't know what the DREAM Act is, it's legislation that has been proposed all the way back from 2001 pretty much every year that would allow people who came into this country at a very young age, at no fault of their own, and who have been raised in this country, who have ties in the community, who have gone to school, an opportunity to go to school or join the army and eventually legalize their status. What would you say to those people who oppose the DREAM Act?
Well, I would say, like, it's not only an immigration issue, it's also an education issue, because we are students who have been living and studying our whole life in here, and, and we're human beings, and, like, to really state that the DREAM Act will increase the economy in here, because it will allow more students to continue their education and paying taxes and all this stuff. So I believe that it's a good bill to pass, and I believe that the people should support it, because the DREAM Act is, our dream, our undocumented dream of students.
Why do you think you're not wanted here? I want to ask each one of you, why do you think you're not wanted here?
I believe, I'm not sure, because we're, like I said, we're human beings, we're just students trying to get, a better life, because when I was growing up in Mexico, I was living in poverty, we barely have food, and all the stuff. So it's a sad story for me to say, and I don't really realize why people, maybe they're really close to themselves and they don't want to be open-minded and accept us of who we are as human beings.
What about?
Oh, well, I mean, like, they see us as, like, a challenge or something, like they feel like we're taking away their jobs or something, which we're not. We're just here to, just pursue something, like, go farther than what, since I'm Mexican, I know back in Mexico you don't have the great education and great opportunities that the United States have. Mm-hmm. And I'm so proud that I had taken advantage of that.
Right. Yeah, a little bit of what they both said. I think it's a lot of people don't know. They might be uneducated on the issue of immigrants and how much we contribute back to this country, and possibly a fear, and that comes from not understanding and then thinking that we're trying to take over their country, when really this is our country as well, and we just want to serve and give back as much as we can.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to thank you all for being so brave and being here and sharing your stories with the community. People out there in the community need to see people like you step up and just share what you have to go through every day, and know that you are productive members of this community, and that if given the chance, you're only going to make this country a better place.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks.
This is Danny Ramos on Hispanic Speak Out TV. We've had an interesting show, and we're going to do we're going to organize a conference. We decided that today, okay, in March. I'll have to find a place to have it, but we will have a conference on March on immigration issues and immigration law. Everybody is welcome to contact my office, Hispanic Achievers, through our website, www.hispanicachievers.org. And if you're Hispanic, don't forget that we have a Hispanic license plate, the first one in the United States. Hispanic Achievers had that passed through the legislature of Florida, and that license plate is now available in all DMV offices. It's celebrating the 500-year anniversary of Hispanics setting foot in North America. And that is about 250 years before George Washington was born. Hispanics had settled in Florida. And of course, to make it more direct, they built St. Augustine, and all you guys know about St. Augustine. So Hispanics have been here for 500 years. This is Danny Ramos on Hispanic Speak Out TV. We will see you next week. Thank you, all of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank Camelia, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.